Today, we're going inside a system of really sophisticated emotional manipulation. Look, this isn't about your average simple scam. What we're doing here is a forensic breakdown of a psychological operation, one that's designed to hijack the most fundamental human need, our need for connection, and turn it into a weapon. We're going to deconstruct it, piece by piece, so you can see the blueprint and, more importantly, learn how to build your defense.
This quote, man, it just perfectly captures the chilling paradox at the very heart of this dependency system. It's a prison, but it's not built with bars. It's built with belief. The target isn't just convinced to say, they are emotionally and, get this, neurochemically compelled to protect their own captor. And understanding that paradox, the sort of psychological Stockholm syndrome on steroids, that's the first step to dismantling the entire operation.
So here's the crucial point you have to understand. Falling for this has absolutely nothing to do with how smart you are. In fact, your own intelligence is often used against you, right? It helps you rationalize your own destruction. This is a biological exploit. The system is designed to target the deepest attachment centers of the brain, a vulnerability that we all share, simply by being human. It really is a clinical, calculated heist of your brain chemistry.
All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to expose the trap they set to create dependency. Then we'll break down the psychological and neurochemical attack they use. And finally, and this is the important part, we'll equip you with a strategic defense and a core principle to tell the difference between a genuine connection and, well, consumption.
Okay, first up, let's look at the very foundation of the attack, the isolation loop. See, before the heist can even begin, the predator needs to create the perfect environment, a closed world where their voice is the only one you trust. The goal here is to build a bond so intense, so seemingly perfect, that you become willing to do absolutely anything for them.
And this is the key mechanism. Affective entrapment. It sounds technical, but it's a real, measurable, biological state. The manipulator's goal is to spike your oxytocin, the bonding hormone, because they know that when it floods your system, your ability to think critically and spot red flags, it drops to almost zero. It's like a chemical blindfold, making you feel safe and trusting at the exact moment you should be most suspicious.
So how do they trigger this state? They do it through something called digital mirroring. In these modern romance frauds, which are often called pig butchering schemes, the perpetrators basically become digital ghosts. They scour your social media to map out your entire emotional landscape. They find your vulnerabilities, your hopes, your recent losses, and then they build a perfect synthetic soulmate designed specifically to fill that void in your life. The more perfect the connection feels, the more likely it is that it's an engineering project. And make no mistake, the consequences are absolutely catastrophic. This isn't just about emotional pain. We are talking about the complete financial and personal liquidation of a person's life. Victims lose hundreds of thousands of dollars, their retirement, their homes, but honestly, what's even worse is the psychological trauma of discovering your soulmate was just a clinical script, a horror that can just shatter your ability to trust anyone ever again.
All right, so with the trap set, the core of the attack can begin.
And this isn't random. It's a clinical operation with a repeatable playbook, a 6-phase neurochemical heist that's designed to dismantle your autonomy.
The system unfolds in this devastating sequence. It starts with targeting and mirroring, where they create that perfect avatar of themselves. Next is the love bombing hook, an overwhelming flood of attention designed to just mute your alarms. Then comes vulnerability theater, where they share some fake trauma to earn your real trust. This leads into social isolation, which is then followed by the most powerful step of all, intermittent reinforcement. And it all ends with the ghosting exit, as soon as the harvest is complete.
Let's just zoom in on that social isolation phase for a second, because this is where things get really insidious. This is where the predator methodically poisons the well. They subtly start to frame your friends, your family, really anyone with an outside perspective as jealous or negative, or just too small-minded to understand the special bond you two share. The goal is to chemically and socially tether you to them until they become the only person you trust, the sole arbiter of your reality. And this brings us to the engine of the entire system, intermittent reinforcement. After all that intense love bombing, the predator will suddenly become distant or cold or critical. This triggers a panic state in your brain, something called anxious attachment. You become desperate to get back to the safety and warmth of their approval, and in that desperation, you become willing to do anything. Liquidate your 401k, take out loans,
anything to solve their problem and just fix the connection. So why is this system so brutally effective? I mean, to really understand why even highly intelligent people can't just say no, we need to move from the external playbook to what's happening internally with the neurochemistry. Let's look at precisely what's happening inside the brain. So our brain basically has two systems. You've got system 2, which is our slow, logical, analytical mind. But then there's system 1. And system 1 is fast, it's emotional, and it's hardwired for social attachment. The entire dependency system is designed to trigger a massive system 1 response, effectively hijacking its survival instincts to overpower and completely silence the logical part of your brain. And this right here is the neurochemical heist in action. It's literally oxytocin weaponization. The constant cycle of love bombing and withdrawal. That dopamine cortisol roller coaster, it hijacks the brain's reward center. It creates a literal chemical addiction to the predator's validation. So by the time your logical brain is asking, wait, why does this supposed millionaire need me to wire them $50,000? Your emotional brain has already hit send because the perceived pain of losing that connection feels way, way greater than the pain of losing the money.
Okay, deconstructing this system is one thing, but defending against it is something else entirely. So now we're going to pivot from the problem to the solution. Understanding the attack is the first step, for sure, but true power comes from having a clear strategic defense protocol. This is how you reclaim your power.
So the crucial question becomes this. If you know that this system is a weapon specifically designed to bypass your defenses, how do you build a shield that it just can't penetrate? Well, it requires a set of objective, non-emotional checks that you deploy the moment you feel that too good to be true rush. Here is a simple 3-step process. First, the speed audit. Real relationships have friction. They take time. If it feels like a perfect movie romance within days or weeks, it is a script, period. Second, the third-party truth test. Force yourself to tell the story of your new relationship and their so-called crisis to a neutral friend. If you feel an intense need to hide it or edit the details, you are already in a trap. And finally, digital verification. Reverse image search every single photo they send you. Copy and paste their most poetic, unique-feeling text messages into a search engine. You will be shocked how often they're pulled directly from scammer scripts online. But this right here, this is the ultimate firewall, and it is completely non-negotiable. I call it the biological speed limit. It takes time for the neurochemicals of infatuation to calm down and for your logical brain to come back online. So the rule is simple: never, ever, under any circumstances, involve your finances with someone you have not known in person for at least one full calendar year. No exceptions. And if you are ever put in that position, here is the tool to unmask them instantly. Use this exact boundary script. Just say, I don't mix my heart and my wallet. If you love me, this won't be an issue. A legitimate partner will respect it. They might be a little disappointed, sure, but they will understand. A predator, on the other hand, will immediately pivot to anger or guilt or accusations. Their script has been broken and their true motive is revealed.
Okay, so let's bring this all together with one final guiding principle. Once you understand the system, you need a simple lens to look at all intense, new connections through. This is the difference between a relationship that builds you up and one that consumes you. Just look at this side by side. It's the clearest way to see it. Real love, a healthy partnership, wants your growth. It respects and protects your independence, your finances, your relationships with other people. Predation does the exact opposite. It seeks to consume your autonomy. It wants your isolation, it wants your debt. A partner wants what's best for you. A predator just wants what you have. So let's just quickly recap the 4 pillars of this explainer. The overall scam isn't really about money. It's about dependency building. The core system that makes this dependency so powerful is intermittent reinforcement. The psychology that allows it to bypass all your logic is oxytocin hijacking. And your most powerful, unbreakable defense is sticking to the biological speed limit. I want to leave you with this final thought, a mantra to remember. Your need for love should never, ever be the reason you lose yourself. If a new, intense bond starts to demand your isolation from your friends and family, or starts to require access to your assets, you have to recognize it for what it is. It isn't love, it's a harvest.